We have a Rotary meeting beginning. Awesome. Welcome to the Oakland Rotary Club. We are the third oldest Rotary Club in the world. 42,000 Rotary clubs in 200 countries, over 200 countries. Welcome. I would like to welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians. Is anyone here visiting from another Rotary world? Not today? I want to say hello to my Zoom friends. I can't see them over here, Ralph, but I'll click my neck over here. Hello, Blaze and Steve and Linda. And anyone else behind the curtain over there? Merlin, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on a hybrid. If you can't make it in during the meeting, let's make sure we see you on Zoom. David Stein, you have a guest. Where's Armand today?
It's working. President Shannon, fellow attorneys and guests. I'm David Stein with Bonnie Fitzgerald, and it's my pleasure today to introduce a returning guest. Ann was an attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union. Please welcome Ann Breck.
Hi, Ann. Welcome back. Nice to see you. I love returning guests. Allison Bliss.
Hi, I'm Allison Bliss, and I just met a brand new guest, David Smith. What do you do?
Financial Services.
Financial Services. Thank you. Welcome to Oakland. Rotary. All right, Keith, you have a special guest.
I do. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Barbara Lee, who is also a scholarship recipient from Rotary.
A scholarship recipient.
Yes.
Very nice. Welcome. Thank you for coming. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to start this meeting with a thought for the day presented by Lois. First, shout out to Black History Month and Women's Month, because I'm going to continue to say each one as time goes on, because we're all included every day, all day. As we're trying to deal with this kerfuffle I'll call our history of slavery, I want to give a quote from Nicole Hannah-Jones, who did the 1619 Project. And the purpose of that was to actually have us face our history and do something about it. So she writes a lot about history, but this is the quote I want to share. We cannot make up for all the lives lost and dreams snatched, for all the suffering endured, but we can atone for it. We can acknowledge the crime, and we can do something to try to set things right, to ease the hardship and hurt of so many of our fellow Americans. And that's what Rotary does. Thank you, Lois. We had birthday cake today. We have a whole fleet of birthdays, so I just wanted to acknowledge the birthdays for the month. Nobody actually today, but Rosemary Darden and David Douglas are tomorrow. So happy birthday to them. Marlene, Vivian, Linda Chu, Daniel, you just had a birthday. Happy birthday. All right. We have a couple of quick announcements. Next week is, I think, close to St. Patrick's Day, so don't forget there might be an opportunity for green. Next week is also our second Thursday of the month. Oh, do we have another guest? Oh, you're waiting. Okay, you have you haven't. Excuse me. Second Thursday of the month, we have a special time where we can ring the bell for special things, whether there's an anniversary or a promotion, or you closed a big deal, or you are feeling grateful. So next week, be thinking about second bell ringer of the week. We also have some sad news from our membership. Two different things have happened over the last couple of weeks. Bonnie Hamill, one of our long-term members, her husband died. And also Jack McAvoy's wife, Carol, a 57-year marriage.
She passed away last week. So I'd like to take a moment of silence for supporting our friends in their hardship. Thank you. So I like to celebrate the magic of Rotary. Our theme this year is the magic of Rotary by bringing Rotary into some other people's lives. And we actually have 2 new members to celebrate today. So I'd like to invite Fred up to introduce his new member. He's going to introduce with 2 or 3 interesting facts. And so, Fred, who do we have here?
Fellow Rotarians, I met Chris Moore after he was elected to serve on the board of directors for the East Bay Rental Housing Association. He is a fellow rental housing provider, a CPA, a community activist. Chris welcomes discussions about politics and housing. He organized the protest to bring the end to the eviction moratorium in Alameda County and Oakland. He ran for county supervisor, led the DA Pamela Price recall, and led the effort to get Ursula Jones Dixon appointed. Currently, Chris is managing the independent expenditure campaign to elect Lauren Taylor for mayor. Please welcome our new Rotarian, Chris Moore.
Chris, welcome to Rotary. Here's your pin.
Thank you.
And you have a special bag of goodies, which include a roster with your new 250 best friends. Some information about Rotary. We have a book in here of our 100-year history that's fabulous, and the 4-way test, which is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So welcome to Rotary.
Thank you.
Bravo. Now we have another member who will now be the newest member of the club. Tom Lamont, will you please share with us your new member?
All right, thank you, President Shannon. So today I am introducing Faye Brandon. So Faye is a senior project manager with Signature Development Group, where she supports various development projects throughout the Bay Area. She is also a former member of the Hayward Rotary Club, where she was an active participant during her time with Eden Housing. Faye holds a degree in design and environmental analysis from Cornell University and later earned her MBA from UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business, specializing in real estate and finance. Do we have any bears? Are there bears here? No bears. Okay, there it is. Okay. She lives in Oakland with her husband of 15 years and their 7-year-old daughter. So 2 interesting facts. Faye discovered her passion for real estate development while working as an AmeriCorps member in New York City, building houses and training volunteers with Habitat for Humanity. After her service, she packed up her car with her mom as her co-pilot and drove to California with no job, no prospects, and set out to build a career in real estate. While bartending to make ends meet, she landed a role at AF Evans, where her CFO was none other than Joe Garalka. In the past 2 years, Faye has developed a love for skiing and is determined to conquer Black Diamond runs. And I think we should be able to help with that. Please welcome Faye Brandon.
Welcome. Well, we have so much skiing, go bears, and design and all kinds of wonderful things in common. Welcome, welcome. And we also have a goodie bag for you. Heard all about this. They're all your new friends. So thank you so much. And so after you new members have been here a little bit and get to know us, you get to tell us more about yourself. So when you're inducted, yes, sir, Joe, go. Okay, so when a person rings the bell, it's $100 donation to the Oakland Rotary Endowment. So Joe, thank you very much. Yay. So after a induction and you join committees and you start helping the community and getting to know all of your friends, then we have you come up and change your red badge into a blue badge by telling us in 3 minutes or less something about yourself. So this is our three. Karen Friedman. Yes, ma'am.
It's on. Oh, there you go. I wanted to ring the bell today because 20 Rotarians are going to Medellin next week, and we're really excited. We'll report back to you when we come back. And we all have T-shirts, and I wanted to bring a T-shirt for you.
Oh, wonderful. Can I go to Columbia instead? It's my favorite color. This is the brand of Shanley Associates, of course, and the Medellin trip. Awesome. So Columbia, this is 20 of our members are going to Columbia, and what an incredible opportunity. Thank you for ringing the bell. That's awesome. Oh, my friend, Kevin. Kevin is going to give his 3-minute introduction. And I just want to preface, you probably
Been lost in the shop.
5 years. So
David Stein found it.
unbelievable. Come on up. Let's hear about Kevin. And I'm sure you have something to say about Gene.
Yeah.
Because he follows in the footsteps of one of our most amazing Rotarians.
All right.
Kevin?
Thank you.
I got to put my timer on.
Hopefully the music won't come on, right? No. Thank you, David Stein, for reaching out and finding me after 5 years. So thank you. Appreciate that. Hello, Rotarians. Kevin Hunter, the CEO of Johnstone Supply out of Oakland. I've been with Johnstone for about 10 years now. Currently, we have 5 locations. We're getting ready to add a new store in San Carlos, which will be our 6th location. So most of you have recognized the name Johnstone Supply from previous long-time Rotarian Gene Zajas. When I joined Johnstone Supply, I was a minority owner nearly about 10 years ago. And then Gene passed away. I think it's been almost 5 years now, I believe. It's coming up. And I was able to purchase the company from his siblings, which we worked out a deal, and here I am today, growing the company. So a little bit about my family. My wife, Jill, we've been married for 6 years, been together for 10 years. We have 5 baby girls. Hang on. I have a 5-year-old dwarf rabbit, baby girl, Callie. Her name's Callie. We have 4 egg-laying hens. So we have Cinnamon, Henrietta, Jolene, and Bobby. That makes up our family. Something interesting about me is that I can't do it now. I shattered my ankle, but I've always been the need for speed. So I used to race stock cars. I've flown airplanes. I've done a lot of stuff. One of my hobbies I like doing is in the backyard. I like to work in the garden and kind of keep that nice and organized in the backyard. So that's what I've got. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there a good story about the shattered ankle, or is it just?
That was a stock car accident.
Oh, just a stock.
I can't do it anymore. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Well, that's exciting. There's some other car enthusiasts in the club, and there's a fellowship about cars internationally. So you might want to
Nice.
think about that. Welcome.
Appreciate
And
that.
here's your new badge after all this time.
That's the old one?
Oh, that's the old one. Here's the new one. Okay,
Good.
you know,
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Oh, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir, Daniel.
I'd like to ring the bell for Gene Sias, a great Rotarian.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel. Ring it again. Kevin's ringing the bell again for Gene Zalhas. Thank you. All right. Okay.
All right,
It's your turn.
it is my turn.
See, you beat the time by some. Okay.
Thank you, President Shannon. Fellow Rotarians, my name is Nunu Ferreira, maybe one of the more interesting first names here in the club. My middle name is Mike. I go by both. Nunu has been slightly butchered over my last 50 years, so I always answer to both. So just to sort of put that out there. But I was born in a small fishing village in Nazaré, Portugal, and immigrated here when I was a year old with my parents. I'm a first generation immigrant. Grew up in Philadelphia until the late 80s. Somehow managed to leave there without too much of a Philadelphia accent. And we moved to the far East Bay, where I went to school in Brentwood, back when it was a completely agricultural, slightly backwater town. And then I went off to college to San Francisco State, where I met my wife, Gretchen. We have been married. It will be 25 years this coming April, end of April. And then we have two children. My daughter Lily is a senior at UCSB, so go Gauchos. And then my son is a freshman at Santa Barbara City College. So we've got two kids living the good life in Santa Barbara. My wife and I have owned a business here in Oakland for the last 20 years. We own a shop called Style Bath and Kitchen by the Oakland Airport. And so we design and sell beautiful things for people's kitchens and bathrooms. So I invite you guys to come by anytime. Let's see, a couple interesting facts about me here. I'm a diehard car person as well. So when I was 16 years old, I started working on cars for the Blackhawk Museum at a restoration shop. And so I had the opportunity to show a car at the Pebble Beach Concourse, which is the equivalent of the Super Bowl in the car world. When I was 18 years old, by the time I was 19, I was offered a job to go train at Ferrari, which I turned down to stay in college. And I am a big fan of vintage automobiles. If you see me broken down on the side of the road, you can say hello. That happens from time to time. But my latest acquisition just last week was a 1983 Porsche 928, similar to the car and Risky Business. So if you see that spaceship flying around, just give a wave. So anyway, and that is it.
Wow, that is fun. Oh my goodness. You know, the last two Rotary events I went to were at the Blackhawk Museum, and those are the only things I can be sure my husband will definitely attend. And I never really saw it perfect. I just never knew cars could be so beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
wow.
you so much.
Well, you'll have to
Thanks.
have a program one of these days. Welcome. All right. Red badges. People with red badges, if you've had them for more than 6 months or 6 years, it's time. Please let us know so we can get you on the podium. With that, we have some, well, are you coming up? You gotta share your shirt there, Greg. All right. Come on, Brandy. Rotary is full of amazing opportunities to not only help the community, but to learn about the community and the world. And we are so grateful to have you in our club for many reasons, but this one in particular, because I'm going on a trip and you are bringing birding to our tribe and other things. So let's hear about it. Welcome, Randy.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, President Shannon, Rotarians and guests. I have a story for you, and it begins with Tom Limon, right over there. Tom was visiting Greg and I at our home in Mono City last summer with his family and said, "You should do a Rotary gathering at Mono Lake."
And here we are. Our Rotary at Mono Lake event will take place June 13th through the 15th. We're inviting Rotarians from throughout Northern California and Nevada. I've planned events which you can pick and choose from during the entire weekend. We'll have a naturalist-led walk at South Tufa on Mono Lake, a tour of the Mono Basin History Museum, a State of the Lake talk by the Mono Lake Committee, a birding walk, of course, and our signature event, Night of the Fallow Oak, a benefit for the Rotary-supported Experience Ambientalia. It's a high school student exchange program with Mar Chiquita, Argentina. The connection are the Wilson's Fallow Oaks that leave Mono Lake and overwinter in Argentina. I'm looking forward to introducing you to our fantastic friends in the Mono Basin who are stakeholders of this amazing environment. I hope you'll experience the magic of Rotary with new friendships and fellowship. On your tables, I have a flyer and a detailed schedule for you. I want to make sure your visit is amazing. Please RSVP to me and let me know if I can offer any travel advice. You're never bothering me. This is very important to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you so much. And Mono Lake, really in depth. I can't wait. Is it time to go camping?
It's time to go camping, although remember, this is not real camping because there are mattresses. But anyway, Enterprise Institute is here finally. Next week, March 14th through the 16th, this Oakland Rotary number 3 is hosting 74 high school juniors and seniors in Monticello. These kids represent 10 OUSD high schools. Now, who's going, you may ask? Greg Annis, Randy Arnold, Dave Barron, Ahmad Anderson, Allison Bliss, Seth Butner, Sean Callum, Dave Cannon, Stephanie Casenza, me, Mary Jiang, Joe Garalka, Shannon Hackley, Carrie Hamill, Rich Harrison, CJ Hirschfield. Next. See, I put little animations in there just to make my time even longer, Ralph. One more time. Will Hobbs, Anna Marie Jones, Isaac Koss-Reed, Fred Morse, Odalise Ordonez, Bill Palmer, Bonnie Prestridge, Jesse Schmidt, Marie Seskin, Peter Sherris, David Stein, Ruth Straub, and Kathleen Uribe, and you. I say you because even if you have an hour, an afternoon, a couple hours to make the beautiful drive to Aptos, just to see what your club is doing, to meet these fantastic youth, to hang with fellow Rotarians, it's an amazing opportunity. So if you're not going to Medellin, come to Monte Toyon next week. Thank you. Oh, and my email is on the next slide, I think, so that you can contact me and I'll get you directions. Thank you.
It's truly an experience of a lifetime, and we do spend a large budget on this fantastic opportunity to knit our Oakland students together. It's really a fantastic camp, and it's great to get to know other Rotarians in beautiful Aptos. And then what pays for this event is our Oakland Rotary Endowment. And so we have our gala coming up. And what does that look like? Looks like a safari.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Stephanie Casenza here. I'm co-chair this year with Ruth Straub. It's 5 weeks out. It's not too late to buy your tickets. There are flyers on the table with a QR code. It's not too late to sponsor. And many people have been very helpful in getting sponsorship in this year, but we still have room to grow. So please, and for those who have asked about attire, I gave you some sample ideas. This is a theme party, but not a costume party. So this is about as safari chic as I'm going to get, what you see up here. Anyway, we also at our World Community Service Committee got a pound of South African coffee given to us for some work for a grant that we provided. And so we raffled it off today, and Barbara Arvana is going to draw the name. Some people purchased raffle tickets.
And we raised $165 thanks to you.
That must be good coffee. All right, so the ticket number 079558. Did somebody leave already?
Come on. It's only
079558. All right, going.
Are you serious? You're not going to claim your price?
Okay. 079554.
There it is.
Hey, Michael Black. So thank you. This is helping to support Oakland Rotary Endowment. And please, I hope you can come to the gala because again, this is a big part of how we raise money for the programs we do, such as Enterprise Institute, which is transformational.
Thank you so much. Committee's working hard. A lot of people are making calls. If people call you, please return their call. That'd be a good idea. It's part of the four-way test. We have hardworking people. Thank you so much. All right, with that, is there anything else happening that needs to happen before we bring in our illustrious speaker? I know, 2 minutes ahead of schedule. I'm actually giving an opportunity here. I actually need somebody for next week to give thought for the day. Jason, thank you so much. I'm going to do this every week, by the way. So you have every week. I'm just going to populate that slot from the floor. With that, I would like to welcome Ramona up to the stage to introduce our speaker.
Hi, I'm Ramona Chang, and I've been chosen to introduce you to Fong Lai and give you a little synopsis of what he's all about. In November of 2018, he was elected to be the Alameda County Assessor. He was the 23rd Alameda County Assessor elected here, and he was elected in 2022 for another term. He also serves as has served as the legislative chair for the California Association of Assessors, and he's currently the president of the Bay Area Assessors Association. I think he's very proud of the fact that he was instrumental in implementing the standardization of the assessment for the state of California Assessors Association. When he was 2 years old, he immigrated from Vietnam. They fled Vietnam and they settled here in the Bay Area, mostly in Union City and Fremont. He went to UC Davis and got a degree in psychology, and then he went to Hastings School of Law and got a law degree. For a while, he worked as an attorney for a real estate firm and for the U.S. government and private industry. Additionally, he was a real estate agent for 15 years and an adjunct professor for teaching real estate law, economics, property management. In addition, he's very proud of the fact that he is the assessor, but he also volunteers as an advisor to the Alameda Friends of Parks and Recreation, and he's a member of the Alameda Rotary Club. So currently, Fong lives in Alameda with his wife and his 2 kids, and a couple of fun facts. He's a girl dad, and he has a fun, wicked sense of humor. So I hope you enjoy Fong Lai's presentation on Top 19.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. My name is Fong Lai, I'm the Alameda County Assessor, and just real quick about how I got here. I was born in Vietnam. My family fled Vietnam as refugees when I was a little boy. My father had never gone more than 10 miles from where he was born. And at the refugee camp in 1980, American policy was, if you fled, you can come here. You got to make your way here. And my father, when he was asked, where do you want to go? He had an uncle who had fled the year before, and his uncle made it to Union City, California. So when he was asked, he said, Union City, California. So I had the privilege of growing up here in Alameda County, and it was Alameda County that went to my father when he first got here. Both my mom and dad didn't speak a word of English. My father's first job was to pick lettuce in South Alameda County. My mother's first job was to work at garment factories in Hayward. And through a translator, they said, Alameda County has a program where you can go to school for free. Imagine that. In 1980, we had free community college. Both my parents went to Chabot Community College at night, learned a trade, got better paying jobs. 1990, they started their own small business. By 1995, they had made enough money to send me to college and to law school, send my sister to college and medical school, send my brother to college. And my sister's a doctor at Rotary Oakland right now. So the American dream. And I say that because we're hearing a lot in the news about what immigration is and what it is not. And contrary to what you may hear, America is still the greatest place in the world, and immigrants help make this place what it is today. So I'm proud to be an immigrant and a refugee. So next slide, or first slide. You guys asked me to come talk about property taxes. Yeah, thank you. Maybe. I'm a lawyer. The first answer is always, it depends. So, next slide, please. So the county next slide. The county requires me to put a disclaimer. Although I'm a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer. So this is just general information, not legal advice. Next slide. All right. What does the assessor do? Is my job to find everything in this county and decide what the taxable value is, which is not just land and buildings, but also for those who own a business, it's your business equipment. It's your filing cabinet. It's your tables, chairs, computers. And if you own boats and airplanes, it's your boat and your airplane. And yes, I do assess submarines too. There's a submarine owner in Alameda County. Next slide. All right, what goes into property taxes? Next slide. There are three of us that are involved in your property taxes. All three of us are elected officials. You chose us to have this job. My analogy, the three of us is like a mafia, right? I'm the head of the family. I'm the Don. I decide how much is paid. Melissa Roque, the audit controller, is like the accountant. She figures out all the math. The tax collector is the enforcer. If you don't pay property taxes, he breaks your knees. All right, so pay the property taxes. Next slide. Where do your property taxes go? Oh, and by the way, I have a huge distrust of government. I take that back. I have a healthy distrust of government. I pay my property taxes on the very last day, on the very last hour, with a physical check, because it takes the county 3 more days to get my money. That's my healthy distrust of government. All right, about 32% of property taxes goes to schools. About 18% stays with the city. And you're talking about reductions, whoever the next mayor of Oakland is, I'm gonna have a talk with them next month. I don't have good news for them. About 15%, oh, I left already. I was gonna say, you sure you want the job? 15% stays with the county. 13% goes to special districts like East Bay Mud. Do I get a yay or a boo? I just never know. When I say BART, I never know what I'm going to get. East Bay Mud, and those are special districts. East Bay Parks, those are great special districts. And then about 12% goes to reassessment agencies, which have been disbanded by Governor Brown, but some of them still exist. So that will get redistributed over time. That's where your money goes. All right. Next slide. All right. Decline in market. Next slide. What happens when there's a decline in market like we're seeing in downtown Oakland? A couple of things happen. I have the authority and discretion of the assessor to reduce people's property taxes when the time occurs. In 2022, we had a spike in interest rates. I noticed during that spike that anyone who bought a home in 2020, 2021, and 2022 saw a decrease in their home values, anywhere from 5 to 15%. So even though 10,000 homeowners did not ask for a reduction, I proactively gave them a reduction because it is my belief as your assessor that when the time comes and the economy has changed, no one should pay more than their fair share. I'm just doing my job. It is my job to make sure everyone pays their fair share, not any more, not any less. There are people who always say they pay too much. And when they do, and I look at it and I feel like it is right, I say, Mom, I'm sorry, I can't reduce your property taxes. My mom called me back and said, how can you not cut my property taxes? If anyone asks,
If you're willing to share a jail cell with me, I'm sure I'll reduce your property taxes. All right. So if you and I still disagree with the reduction, you have two options. The informal review, where my staff will sit down with you and work with you and walk you through it. We're doing that right now with all the major office buildings in downtown Oakland and Pleasanton and Emeryville and Berkeley. If we still disagree, and I'm a firm believer that 90% of the time, if two reasonable people sit together at a table, we'll figure out the differences. If we still disagree, you can file a formal appeal, which is heard by an independent third party. You could be on that third party. The board of supervisors appoints the people on that party. If you want that job, it's a kind of crappy job, but if you want it, you can apply for that job as well. That group of three will decide what the value is, and then we will enroll that value, even if we disagree with it at that point in time. So I don't say at all. All right. Decline of value. 13 said your property taxes can go up by no more than 2% a year until it is transferred. But if there's a decline, the assessor can reduce it by whatever that decline is. So if I do reduce your property taxes by 10% this year, how much can I increase it by next year? Wrong. 12, right? I can pull back the 10 if the market conditions change and add back the 2. Those reductions are temporary one-year reductions. Now, if the reduction stays low because the market's still bad, 2010, 2011, right? Remember those years? We can keep that low base value until the market changes. All right, next slide. All right, Proposition 19, you guys voted on this. So as an administrator, I only administer the laws that you and the state legislature pass. I am not a lawmaker. I don't get to make these rules. Next slide. All right, how do you understand, what happened in Prop 19 when you voted for it in November 2020? The best way to understand it is to understand Proposition 13, which was passed by voters in 1978. Property tax laws don't change very much in California, right? 40 some odd years later, the property tax laws change. 13 said if my mom and dad bought a house in Oakland in 1980 for $100,000, their property taxes in 1980 would be about $1,200. If their assessed value can go up by no more than 2% a year, I'm going to do some quick math here. What's their current assessed value after 45 years? It's about $200,000, right? 2% a year almost doubles. If the market value of that house is, if that house is worth $1 million today, they still pay property taxes based on $200,000. That's Prop 13. That's what Prop 13 says. All right. You guys just changed this dramatically when it comes to passing on property to your children. How many of you own property that you want to give to your children one day? Listen up. Next slide. If that house is sold to a new owner for $1 million, their property taxes go from my parents' $2,500 a year to $12,000 a year. Properties get reassessed when there is a change in ownership. All right? Keep that in mind. Next slide. The old rule, before Prop 19 passed in 2020, I can give my property to my children, my parents can give property to me without a limit. It could be a rental house, it could be their house. If it's a primary home, they can give me as much as they want without being reassessed. If it was a rental house, they can give me up to $1 million of assessed value without being assessed. So I said that house that was $200,000 in assessed value, my parents, before the change, could give me 5 of those houses, and I get to keep the low property taxes, right? And I say old law because that's the old rule, right? Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. We talked about this. I must have doubled the slides. Next slide. All right. We said there were rule changes in 2020. There were 2 bills that you voted on, 2 ballot initiatives. One was Prop 15, which barely failed. Prop 15 said, Mr. Assessor, reassess every commercial property every 3 years. Doesn't matter whether they change owners or not, right? It would have meant like restaurants, retail stores, office buildings. That barely failed. Prop 19, which changes how you pass on property to your children, and which changes if you're 55 or older, how you carry your low property taxes with you. Now, no one in this room is 55 or older, so that doesn't apply to any of you yet. Did I mention that I'm up for election at some point? All right. Next slide. That was another joke. No one's dumb enough to want this job but me. All right. 19 had two parts. How you pass on property to children and what happens when you're 55 or older. Right? Next slide. Next slide. All right. Under the new rule, right? I have a house. In order for me to pass it on to my children without triggering a reassessment, a few things have to occur. First, it has to be my primary home. How does the assessor know if it's your primary home? Thank you. If you have a homeowner's exemption on your home, you have signed a piece of paper that says, under penalty of perjury, this is my home, my primary home. How do you get the homeowner's exemption? I have a rule. I'm in government now. And in government, the rule is there's a form for everything. There are 200 forms in my office. There's one form that allows you to apply for a homeowner's exemption. Do you know what the name of that form is? Thank you, the homeowner's exemption form. We're very creative in government, right? You have to file a homeowner's exemption form. Then you give your property to your children. What does your children have to do to keep the low property taxes for your primary home? Thank you. They have to file their own homeowner's exemption, right? Because it has to be their primary home after they get it from you. What else do they have to do? Live there, obviously. How do I know as the assessor if that is the parent and the person who got it is the child? How do I know? Thank you. Fill out the form. There's a form that says, this is my mom. She gave me a house. I am who I am. What's the name of that form? Parent-child transfer form. You see how creative we are? You have 1 year to file the homeowner's exemption form after the transfer. You have 3 years to file the parent-child form. Those are hard rules. I have a friend whose father passed away. Father bought the house in 1968 in Alameda. He moved in to help his father during his final years. Father passes away. He calls me 1 year, 2 weeks after the father passes away. I felt so horrible. There was nothing I could do. He had to pay an increase in his property taxes. So make sure, right. Next slide. New rule. Remember I said earlier, my parents could transfer up to $1 million of assessed value without triggering a reassessment on rental property. New rule. What happens when rental property is transferred? Reassess. It could be your vacation home. It could be your cabin. It could be a rental place. It could be whatever it is. If it's not a primary home, and it doesn't become your child's primary home, it will trigger an automatic reassessment now. No ifs, ands, or buts. Next slide. The primary home exemption is very, very important. If you think you're going to transfer to your kids, put it on your house now. Next slide. All right. There's also a cap now on how much value you can transfer without triggering a partial reassessment. This is, in this scenario, mom and dad bought the house for $100,000. It's assessed at $200,000 today. It's valued at $1 million. The cap is $1 million above the assessed value. $200,000 assessed value, the cap is $1.2 million. If the home is 1.2 or less in market value, no reassessment. What happens if the home is above the $1 million cap? Next slide. $2 million house. I said cap is 1.2 million, right? House is worth 2 million. The gap between 2 million and 1.2, let's do some quick math there. 800,000 gets added to your original base value of 200,000. So now you have a new base value of $1 million. I feel like I'm at a concert. $1 million. Plus the special assessments. I'm not talking about special assessments. Special assessments, blame Robert Rayburn. All right. So the new assessment becomes 1 million. So if Mom and dad had transferred the house to me before 19 passed, right? February 15, 2021 is when Prop 19 took effect. If they transferred it to me, next slide. If they transferred it to me before then, I get to keep their low property taxes of $2,500 a year. Next slide. If they transferred to me after February 15, 2021, and it was their primary home and becomes my primary home, my new property taxes are $12,500. If it is not their primary home, or if it's not my primary home after, property taxes are $25,000. You see the difference? Huge difference. You can thank yourselves for changing that law. And I got to be the one who gets yelled at. By the way, I got yelled at once by a homeowner who transferred her house. Different last names, didn't file the transfer form, and said, she called me and said, how do you not know that's my child? I said, ma'am, if I was clairvoyant, I wouldn't be your assessor. I'd be on the beach with a Mai Tai because I would have won the lottery. Next slide. All right. People always say, what should I do with my house, Fong? What's the answer? Talk to a lawyer. You want to have a good person who knows these rules to help you through it. And next slide, the most important people you need to talk to, your children. Because if you give your house to your child before you die, and that child does not want to keep that house and ends up selling it a month after you give it to him, what happens? There's something called capital gains taxes, and they're going to pay a crap load of money in capital gains, right? If you don't know what a step-up provision is, talk to a lawyer and a CPA. It's important. And make sure you talk to your children, because you can't, I can tell you right now, there's so many kids that are my generation now, where we're talking to our parents about this stuff, who don't want the home, right? It's a tough thing to do. Next slide. All right. Second part of Prop 19 before I end. 55 or older. Like I said, this doesn't apply to anyone here, but when you turn 55 in 20 years, next slide. The old rule was you could take your property taxes with you to 11 select counties only. Because of Prop 19 now, you can take it with you anywhere in the state of California. The old rule, you had to sell your house and then buy a house that's equal or lower market value. New rule, you can buy a more expensive house now, and your property taxes gets a small adjustment. Next slide. I'm sorry? Great question. You could do, old rule, you can only do it one time in your life. New rule, you can do it 3 times in your life. Why 3 times? No, not because you live a long time, it's because you get divorced so often. That's really the reason why they did 3. Let me tell you something about divorce real quick, right? When I got the phone call, I decided to run for assessor 2 hours before the filing deadline. I didn't know that the assessor job was open until I used to complain about the assessor's office all the time. My prior life as a lawyer, I used to sue the assessor. My staff remembers me from when I used to sue the assessor. I used to complain so much. And then the staff called and said, hey, you know, the assessor didn't file to run. 2 hours before the deadline to file. I was down in Fremont. Filing is in Oakland. I didn't know what to do. I think of myself as a pretty smart man. You know what I did? I called my wife. You know what my wife does for a living back then? She was a divorce lawyer. I wasn't going to screw that one up. You know what she does now? She's a divorce judge. If you get divorced in Alameda County, you have a 1 in 8 chance of being in front of my wife. You don't want to be in front of my wife. All right. Downsizing. Okay. So we said you buy the house for $200,000. It's now assessed at $400,000, right? 45 years later, it's twice. You sell it for $1.2 million. You buy another house for $700,000. You get to keep your $400,000 low base value. In order to keep your base value, what do you have to do? Tell the assessor, right? Fill out the form. Thank you. Base value transfer form. Very simple. Next slide. We're going to end this real quick. Next slide. What happens when you buy a house that's more expensive? You sell your house for 1.2 in Oakland. You buy a condo. Next slide. You buy a condo in San Diego for 1.7 million. What do? Your difference of 500,000 gets added to your base value because you bought a more expensive house. But in order to get that base value, new base value, what do you have to do? Who do you send that form to? Which assessor? the new assessor where you moved to. So you send it to San Diego's assessor. And he calls me and says, you have a person from Oakland that just moved over here. Can you take them back? I say, no, Jordan, but here's the base value. All right, next slide, last part. So your new property tax, next slide. Your new property taxes are $900,000 at that point, as long as you fill out the form. I always get this, and this is the last part of my presentation, is a trust. What happens when you have your house in a trust? The reassessment occurs when there's a change of beneficiary. If you have children and you have a trust that says my children will share equally in all of my goods, because I love them all equally, even though I really don't. But I say that because I'm supposed to say that, right? You split it amongst your children. If they don't like each other, they buy each other out, it will trigger a partial reassessment. In order to avoid that, the trust itself has to take out a loan in the name of the trust and pay out the siblings. And people don't realize that that's a rule. So remember that, make sure your lawyer knows that, because a lot of lawyers were screwing this up at the beginning. That's a very important thing when you have a trust. Last two slides, keep going. Go to the slide with my face and picture on it, please. All right. When I became assessor, there are a couple of things that I demanded of my staff. One, we believe in customer service. If you reach out to us, we'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, even if the answer is we need more time to figure this out. I also created a free legal clinic because we have a lot of these questions that come up, and I can't give you legal advice, even though I'm a lawyer. So we created a free legal clinic. Any resident of Alameda County can ask for a 30-minute consultation with an estate planning lawyer for free to give you a little direction. They're not gonna get you all the way, but they'll give you direction on where to go. And you can thank yourselves for that because I'm using taxpayer money to fund this. So you're paying for it. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. If you have any questions, I'll be around.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much. How about a couple of, we have time for just a couple of questions. I think there was a question or two. Director Rayburn.
Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your witty wisdom with us. I'm interested in how Alameda County's doing. So have our assessed collections been growing? And also, what portion of the assessments go uncollected?
So the question was, how's Alameda County? Alameda County is doing very well. Our entire county as a whole, and Alameda County stretches from Fremont to Albany out to Livermore. Right, as a whole, we're doing great. Last year we had a 5% growth in our taxes, in our property tax roll. I expect, and don't quote me on it yet, because I'm going to see the real numbers in about another month. I'm going to guess that this year we're about 4 to 5%. On average, though, we're a little bit lower than normal. Most years, we have about 7% growth in our county. And some cities will reach 7% or 8%. Alameda, Fremont, Berkeley always has very high growth. They have a lot of businesses that bring in a lot of money. Oakland, unfortunately, I'm going to have a conversation with whoever's elected mayor after next month. I'm going to have a conversation with them. My prediction for Oakland is going to be very dire. Oakland has two major revenue sources. One is property taxes. More than half of the city's revenue comes from property taxes. My job. The other part comes from transfer taxes. Not good. We'll know more, but I'm going to guess that the revenue growth isn't going to be there. So they're going to have to figure it out as a city. We're all going to have to figure it out. But the rest of the county is doing gangbusters still. The collection rate is like 90 some odd, 99%. Like their health is good as far as collecting. Okay. It's nice to collect property taxes because if you don't pay, it's pretty easy. You just put a lien on your house, right? It forces the payment. And so even if it's foreclosed, the money comes to the county first. So we're good. The county also collects for all the special districts. Like there's two parts of your property tax bill. The left side, which is assessment where I'm involved in, the right side, which is special districts. You see school bonds, city bonds, BART, East Bay Parks, all that gets added. And they do that because there's a process of collecting that's very easy when you do it all together. So as a county whole, we're doing good. And obviously there's never enough money because there's so many services that we want to provide, homeless care, health care, it adds up. But Oakland is my concern this year, and I'm going to have that hard conversation with whoever the mayor is next month. Yes, sir.
Bill.
So, thank you for being here and explaining all this to us. In past times I've seen you speak, you've talked about your computer system. How's that project going?
So when I first got to the assessor's office on January 6th, 2019, I first walked into the door. We had people having file push carts with inboxes and outboxes where they would take physical files this thick and put it in out. You file when you need a file, and they would go either to the basement or drive to the warehouse to go get the files. I was like, oh, I use more experience that week. So what I did was I just hired a bunch of college interns. I said, scan everything. I paid this into $50 an hour. After a week, like, oh, sucks. I paid $20 to get them employed because they want to get a short index. But after 2.5 years, and this is why I give credit to Gavin Newsom, I actually went to him. I said, the challenges I've done for me, I need the state to give me money to upgrade our system so that way we have digital files. Because if there's a fire or an earthquake, all my files are gone. Like literally, they're all gone. So we got a grant from the state for $2.5 million, and we digitized every single file at the assessor's office. So your files are now all digitized, and it's yours, so you have access to it. So we got that.
Thank you.
The last project that we're working on electronically is we finally got the state to pass a law that allows the assessor to collect electronic signatures. 2024, you can finally sign DocuSign and give it to us. Before that, really, the law says you cannot accept it if there isn't a wet signature on there. Think about that. 2024, I still was required by law to get you to physically sign a document in order for me to accept it. Now I can take electronic signatures. It only took 2 years for me to convince the state legislature to pass that law for me. So,
Good job.
Fun times.
Thank you. No, come over here. Come here.
Any last questions? I know you probably got a lot to do today. Nothing else? All right. My last public service announcement. What's today's date? March 6th. Property taxes are late in the month. Property taxes.
All right. Thank you. Well, I have to tell you, come here. We want to thank you so much for your time.
Any red badgers out there? I was a red badger. I hold the record 6 years on my club.
Okay. All right. All right. And you're Club of Alameda, right? Okay. So first of all, I have to admit that when I got your 38 slide deck, I was warning everyone to drink a lot of coffee.
Drink whiskey. It's better.
And I am delighted to be, you exceeded my expectations. And I really appreciate your energy, your effort. I appreciate your story of where you're from and your parents. And I'm grateful that you're our assessor. So really, I really appreciate you brought some real human talk to this that is real. It's real. So I got to remember all the forms. Anyway, listen here. As an appreciation for you, no chocolate.
No chocolate?
And I don't have to explain to you what Polio Plus is since you're a Rotarian, but anybody in the room knows that Rotary has been trying to wipe out polio off the face of the planet. And we are this close, and we will never give up the fight on polio. And we'll make a donation in your name to Polio Plus. Thank you so much for coming. Awesome. All right. Yay. Okay, I want to, Michael Valva, you didn't bother to say that you were here, but you are visiting. He's here. So, but Michael, thank you for all the work you're doing with our club, and we love you, and it's nice to see you. It's nice to see Vera in the back. Listen, we have 2 new members. Make sure you meet them on the way out. Camp Enterprise, go to App. What could be better than going to Aptos just to say hello and go have lunch in town? Really, join Camp Enterprise to just be with us. And CJ, we have a pretty cool time next week too. There we do. Here we go.
Yeah, thank you. Did you know that Oakland has been voted the #1 best food city in the U.S. by Condé Nast Traveler readers, who praised its staggeringly diverse food scene and unique neighborhoods and hotspots? Well, in January, the Oakland Restaurant Collective was created to counter the stigma surrounding Oakland and its culinary scene by amplifying positive stories, highlighting all of our amazing bars, cafes, and restaurants.
Join us next week when representatives from Visit Oakland and the Collective talk about the industry's economic impact, initiatives, and the upcoming Restaurant Week.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Buy your tickets to the gala, please. Make sure you get that done. And with that, am I forgetting anything, team? Wonderful. Thank you for coming to Oakland Rotary today and this meeting. Oh, bus your tables, please. Bus your tables. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, here it is.